Good morning, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me okay. It is 10 o'clock, so we are going to start. I mentioned before, I think I'm going to be very mindful of the time because I know as we go forward, we'll have other video conferences and we really need to be able to schedule our time appropriately. So if we have a meeting or a call like this that goes, say, from 10 to 11, we'll want to make sure that we use that time appropriately. So I'm going to start right at 10 and I will end right at 11. This week, the time will stay the same, so we'll be at 10, 11 all week, but that may change come in the future if we end up having other classes that get scheduled during the day. So I may end up moving this same video call, just like we're doing now, but I may move it a little bit later in the day, but I'll certainly let everybody know that when that happens. So the first thing I'd like everyone to do, if you haven't already, when you join the call, if you go to rsu19.info, there's a link there. This will do the attendance. So if you click on that link, you'll see right here. Now the attendance is for everybody in RSU 19. So if you've joined us from outside the district, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here, but you do not have to take attendance. This is just, and again, this may change going in the future, but for now, we're using this as a way to just check in. And somebody asked me the other day or emailed me, is this for previous, if you watch it afterward, and this is just for live. So if you're here live, you're here today, right now, and it will timestamp it. All you have to do is click that attendance link and just say, yes, I'm here. It will automatically record your email address, so it knows who you are, basically, what time it was. It's pretty easy. The other thing is, if it does give you a hard time, if the form, I'll pull it up real quickly here so you can see what it looks like. Let's present. Okay, so if you wanted to see what it would look like, let me just pull this up real quick. If I go to rsu19.info, and I'll scroll down here a little bit, it says attendance sign in. So all I have to do for that is click that attendance sign in right there. And by doing that, it automatically puts my email address in. I can put my name if I want, choose what school I'm at, and click submit. And I've just completed my attendance. That's pretty much it. So we'll do this during the day while we have, while we're doing video calls. Again, at least for this week. It may change going in the future, but for today, the other question that came up, I do want to start every time by basically covering questions that have been before. So let me go through the question list here. These are from the last couple of days. One question was about the attendance, and so so if you do attendance for today for this call, awesome. Tomorrow you just do it for that day, and so forth. If you do want somebody else asked about permission to sign in, either if you're not in RSU 19, don't worry about it. We don't need your attendance. Thank you for joining us. If you are and it's not letting you sign in, make sure that you're signed into your school account, your rsu19.net account. If you're signed into your own personal Gmail account, it will get confused. It won't know which one. So you may have to sign out of that one and then sign into your school account. And then somebody asked about a session yesterday. So to deal with that, yes, we'll be doing sessions on weekdays, pretty much every weekday. I have the link. So if you, again, go to that either rsu19.info if you're in our district, or if you're outside the district, steampoweredlearning.org will bring you to the website. And right there, if you scroll down a little bit, I added an archive tab. And so what that will be all the links to every single show of these and a little bit of description of what they are. And you click on the link and you can pull up the video. It also includes the show notes. And so all the different resources. So if we talk about Google Classroom, maybe there's tutorials, whatever there is, all that stuff will be linked there. And one quick note about that, another person emailed me, asked, these topics are, generally speaking, we're really looking at how to support educators in providing distance learning. So this is not specifically, I know the name, Steam Powered Learning is just a site that I already had up, so it's convenient. But it's not necessarily about STEAM content or really about any content yet. This is mostly about how do I do what I'm doing, do education from a distance. What does that look like? What does that look like for different grade levels? What does that look like for different content areas? What are some things that we can do? And so as we go forward, I will start, I haven't done this yet, but I will start planning a little bit more ahead to tell you what the topics are going to be going forward. Right now it's kind of, catch as catch can. Somebody asked, can we ask questions this hour? Absolutely. If you fill out that form, or if you ask questions in the comment stream, I'll do my best to either answer them, or if you fill out that form, I'll answer them the next day. So if you think of a question tonight or at any point, go to rsh19.info, find that says your name and question. The name's optional if you don't want to put that in, but ask your question and I'll do my best to answer it the following day. But feel free, like I said, somebody asked, where's the attendance? Again, that rsh19.info, if you scroll down, is the attendance sign in, and the link should be right there. So with that, what we're going to talk about today, two things. One is we're going to revisit Google Classroom a little bit, because there's a couple things that popped up that I want to make sure I covered and that we didn't get a chance to talk about yesterday. So one is, or whatever day it was, 2 days ago. So one is a little bit of revisiting Google Classroom. I'll go through the process again, setting it up just to show people if you might have missed it the first time, but there's some differences that we didn't have last time, kind of updates that I want to share. So that won't take us the whole time. And then after that, I am going to go through the process. If you are going to set up your own Google Hangout Meet or Google video conference, what that process looks like how do you start it, how do you share it with your students or other teachers, how do you schedule it, all this process. Again, I mentioned this before, it's a little bit difficult to show you while I'm in a meet, only because the camera's already being used, so it gets a little bit tricky. So we may end up showing you on a different laptop. If that's too hard to see, I'll do my best, but if that's too hard to see, I can always record a video of us doing it and then we'll upload it there and attach it as well. So the very first thing, we're going to start with Google Classroom. So let me do a screen share. And let me jump to this. Okay. Screen share. And actually, we're going to do it this way. Sorry, I'm going to turn it on one more time just because it's easier for me. We'll use this laptop. All right, now we've got settled here. Hopefully everybody can see that. Like I said, we're going to update this so it's not quite as clumsily as is right now, but for now, it will work. So what we're going to do here is we're going to set up do Google Classroom again. Now, we started this last week, but I'm going to go as if I've never done it before. So same process. I've signed in. I have my generic account. This is a generic student account that I am using as a teacher. This is my account. I've never done Classroom before, say. So the first step, I'm right on google.com. I'm going to click that little waffle in the upper right-hand corner of that grid. Go down to Classroom. And I have a class because we started one last week. That was our first time. Like the first time you do this, it will say, hey, are you a student or a teacher? And so obviously if you are a teacher, you're going to click on I'm a teacher and go from there. If you are not, if you click on that and it doesn't say, the big trick here, right here in the upper right hand corner, this little plus here, if it only says join class, if it doesn't say create a class, then email tech, so tech@rsh19.net, and we'll be able to put you into the teachers group is what it's called, the teacher section. So make sure you email that and then we'll set that right up. Otherwise, really the only difference between a student account and a teacher account is this right here, creating a new class. So we're going to do that. I'm going to click create a class. Now here's where it's a little bit of a change, and it's not a big change, but the important thing is because we're going to have so many students, doing virtual learning, we're really going to have to be mindful of organizing how our classes look like, because it'll be too confusing if everybody, have a class called English, say, or everybody have a class called math. We want to be a little bit more detailed there, especially for our students. Like if they look at their list. Now before, like let's say, a couple months ago, it didn't matter because we would see them face to face. They would see your class. It really didn't matter what it was called, really, because they would be in the room with you, no problem. But this is going to be much easier if we go through the process, going forward. So the first thing I'm going to do, if I'm doing, for example, a high school class, I'm going to call it HS. So I know already it's in the high school, or MS or ES for middle school or elementary school. And then I can call it the content area. So we'll do an English class. And then I'll call it what the actual content is. So maybe it's writing. And we'll say grade 11. I don't know. So maybe a little bit more detail. So we're doing the physical location. So what grade level span we're in. So high school. English, so what the content area is, and then what the actual title of the course is. If you want to call it something else as well, and this might be for your own convenience or whatever, that you a little bit more detailed. Right here under section, you can really call it whatever you want in here. Section will only appear to you or the students in the class. It won't affect the name for everybody else. Why this is important is as we go forward, if we start having classes all over the place, again, for kids, it's going to be really confusing if it's too many. So this is kind of a simple ask if we just name it appropriately. Subject, again, won't matter in this case. Nobody else will see this. So if you do want to put in your own subject, I want to put English just because. Yep, we'll say English 11. And room, again, won't really matter in this case. But even if it did, it doesn't affect anything else. It's just your own. You can put that room in there. When I create this, there we go. So this is similar to what we've done before. Now, again, typically I would open this little code up and students would join that way. And you can do that. You could text that or get that or email students or whatever that way. You also can add them directly, which is, like I mentioned before, we will probably do. So I'll go to people and I will go to students and I would add a student directly. Now I'm going to add my own account as a student just so we have something to work with here. Yep. Invite, and they will have to click accept. Here's the other difference. Okay, back where we were on stream, if I go to people, one issue that we want to make sure we are prepared for is if a teacher gets sick, right? Unlike having a substitute come in for a sick day, if your Google Classroom is just under you, it's more problematic for us to be able to jump in to help. So let's say you're sick for a day and you're not able to work with the kids. What we are asking you to do in the upper right here, this little person with a plus, if you click on that, if you share it with the account called Classroom. Now, this is just a placeholder account. It's just classroom@rsu19.net. What will happen is that account's going to end up having team teaching with everybody in the whole district, all the different classes, and that's why the naming is so important. But the real purpose of that is if, for example, you have class tomorrow, but you don't feel well, so you're not going to be available to do it, this account will allow us to get right in there to keep it rolling, to keep the kids, what they need, and be able to have somebody else jump in there. So this is really important. This also works for existing classes. So if you are you have a Google Classroom, if you share it with the account called classroom@rsu19.net, then we'll be able to have access to it. And that's kind of a one-time deal. Once you've done that, once you've invited them, they'll see this right here. It says been invited. They'll have to sign in to be able to, and we'll take care of it from that end. So we'll go in, we'll sign in. Let me go do that right now. And basically we'll say I accept. And by doing that, what will happen is, signing in right now, is that we will now have access to what's going on in your classroom if needed. The only thing that we can't do, and we won't do anyway, is you still have control of deleting the entire or archiving the entire class. So if you use this for a year and you want to hide it for the following year, that's fine. That will work out fine. Let me just pull up real quickly here. I'm signing in as classroom@rsu19.net. I am then, once it's loaded here, okay, I'm being asked to co-teach. I'm going to accept. And once I do that, you'll notice here in 1 second, this should refresh. Let's see if it pops up here. Perfect. And now Classroom is the generic account that I can jump in if need be to help you out. Excellent. Okay, so that's the one big thing. The other thing that we had talked about, but I also think it's a little bit more, I want to be a little more mindful here, a little bit more stringent here, is when you add assignments. When I create assignments, so I'm going to create an assignment here, and we're going to call this, unit, we'll call this Unit 1 and Essay 2, because I believe we had one the other day. We really want to make it a point when we do this that we add it to topics. Now, we talked about topics before over here on the right side here, creating a topic. So let's say my topic for this first one is creative writing. So I'm going to have a topic. Whoops, if I could type here. There we go. creative writing, and I'm going to add a document to it. Again, we'll just add a Google Drive doc. I believe I had one up from before. That looks fine. We'll add that one. Every student can make a copy for each student. Again, so we're not looking at it. Each has their own. And I made sure I put in a topic. The reason why that's so important, I'm going to assign it. The reason why that's so important is as students, go throughout this year, go throughout time, this is where they're going to organize. Yes, the stream is just like it sounds like. If you imagine your physical classroom, you got kids chatting with each other, you got a kind of room, it's a little bit of a buzz, stuff's going on. That's what's going to be out here, where there's different notes, there's different comments. I will show you again if you want to be able to turn those off so students can't comment with each other. But if you have this is kind of like the public space. Classwork is really the easiest way to organize things. So it's going to organize right here in order that you put them by topics. If you just throw things together in just without a topic, it's going to be kind of lost. It's going to be hidden in this big long list. But if you are mindful and put in a topic as you go, and this will be organized for the students right here, which is super helpful. And also, like for example, the first one, let's say you want to put resources and just have links to things that you always want them to have access to. That's the easiest way to do that. You can also take an existing document. If you have an existing essay, let me view the assignment here. And if you want to, if you need to move it and have it actually jump back into a, let me go to instructions here, into a topic, you can do that as well. I can add it to a topic. If I edit this one, I can click over here and say, oh, I forgot to do a topic. I can click in here and I can add it to a topic or add a new topic. So that's really the big thing there, is making sure that every assignment that you offer, and really that you're using the classwork, this is where the work is going to be for students. This is where it's going to be organized so they can jump in. Again, chronological, so if they miss a day, they don't get too lost. They know what's going on, and you've put them into units very easily for them. That's going to be really important. One last thing we're going to share about Google Classroom. Like I said, we're not going to do the whole thing over again, but we're going to add a couple more tips that we didn't really cover before. If I do want to mute the comments so that other people do the comments so you can see what, so they can basically hide that or mute it so the kids can't comment with each other. At the high school level, maybe you want them to be able to comment with each other, and that's fine. And so they can kind of, talk to each other and use that as a space. As I mentioned before, even if somebody's deleted, then you can pull back up if you need to address it. You can mute individual students if you need to. You can use this as you need. But what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go up in the upper right and click on this gear here. Scroll down a little bit. This is worth mentioning here, the class code. So the class code is that digit code that you're going to have share people in. If there was a situation where you noticed, if I went back to the top here, if you notice that the class code is very visible for students as well, right here. So if you didn't want kids to see that so that they wouldn't share it with other students that are not in that class, so basically it's hidden, what I can do in that gear, in that settings, scroll down and I can turn this and I can either reset it or I can disable it. So you can't allow, anybody can't get in there unless you, the educator, have added to them. So that's an option. The stream, can students post? Can they only comment? Can the teacher only post? So this is where, right now, post and comment means kind of, free form. They can do kind of what they want. They can add a new post, they can comment with each other, they can kind of use it as a chat room. Now, in education, chat rooms are dirty words, like, oh no chat room, which is true. However, this is a relatively safe space. That means that any chat that's going on here, you as the teacher see. So this is not a chat room on its side that's kind of hidden. This is very public. And in fact, other students see it as well. So this might be an appropriate place to allow that to happen so kids can chat with each other and talk with each other and see what's going on. If not, if you don't feel comfortable with that, absolutely no problem. Students can only comment. That means that you post something and they can only leave a comment for you. So here, what do you think of this video? Or what do you think of this assignment? And they would comment, hey, nice, I like it, or I don't, or whatever. Or only teachers can post and comment. And this basically turns it all off so that they can, it doesn't matter. Like you are the only one that can add to it. And just a reminder that if you do have a situation where really it's one or two students causing an issue, you can mute just individual students if that's a problem too. So I'm going to leave it as students can only comment right now. Show condensed notifications. That's just, as stuff pops up on the stream. Again, I would, if do you want them to get notifications? I would say probably. I would say condensed notification is appropriate. Show deleted items. Again, if you want to see somebody that typed something and then they deleted it, and it's still there. You would be able to see it. Other people cannot see it. We mentioned about the Guardian summaries last time we talked about Google Classroom. These are where in the individual students, their Guardian, if it's already put in there, the email that's going to go to, they'll receive a summary. I can show you an example. They'll receive a summary that looks kind of like this of what things are due. So what's due next week, what's due 2 weeks. The parent or the guardian gets an email with this already in it. So the student doesn't have to do anything. The parent really doesn't have to do anything. They just see it. I don't know of a reason why you wouldn't turn this on. I'm not sure if there's a specific rationale where you wouldn't want parents to see that. Some parents may not want to get it, and that's up to them. But the other thing too is if you have a student that somebody's already put in their email address, for them, for a different class, it will appear, so you don't have to redo that. It will just be new students that have them before. Grade calculation, I'm not going to focus on grade calculation right now. When we get to the point where we're worried about grading, in the next couple of weeks, say, or whatever, then we can talk about that. But for now, we'll just kind of skip over that for now as we go forward. You can add grades at any point, beyond that. Click Save. All right, and here's my classwork. So let me jump back to stop sharing. Oh, okay. So some people, let me do the screen share again. I missed some of the. I do understand it's difficult because I'm showing the video of another screen. So we'll do our best with that. But let me real quickly here. I just want to show you one point, and hopefully you guys can see the screen now. Let me double check the comments here real quickly. Just somebody give me a quick thumbs up if you can see this screen right here. All right. So what I won't do the whole thing again, but I do want to just share real quickly individual pieces. One is the name right here. If you've already named something, named your course, I'm going to click on this gear right here, and I can rename it. What might happen if we need to organize these broader for not just for your class, but for classes across the district or across the high school, we may end up taking your existing name that you have and just putting it in here in the description, and then calling it a little bit more detailed. Writing, let's say. Junior English, or whatever it is, okay? And then the other thing is I scroll down here, we talked about class code. In this situation, you probably don't need to have a class code because students are not going to be adding themselves. You are going to be adding them. I mean, you can send that to a student, that class code, and they can type themselves and put them in. That's cool. But it may be also an issue where if that class code is available, other students might add themselves that aren't in your class. So if you need to come in here and disable that, you can as well. As I mentioned here, stream, probably students maybe only comment, or maybe only teachers can post or comment, depending on your grade level, depending on how much interaction you want them to have through Classroom. That's up to you. I'm going to put only comment right here. The Guardian summaries we mentioned, see the example. Like I said, I think there's no reason not to turn these on. If you need to add students, Guardians, what you're going to do, click Save here. If I go to people, and I can't remember if I have yes, I have a student right here. Okay, so let's say I'm going to invite a guardian for Kern Kelly. I've got my account down at the bottom. Click Invite Guardians. I would type in their email address. Okay, there it is. Click Invite. So they're going to receive an email that's actually inviting them to say, hey, let me see here if I get my email. Update, yep. So it says I get invited as a parent. I can accept, or I'm not the guardian, so I can basically click accept. And once I do that, click accept. Okay, so now you'll notice here, right here, that my email will switch. Let me refresh that. The other thing too is, I'm not looking right now, I also ask how the frequency. Do I want it once a day? Do I want it weekly, daily? How do I want to be notified as a parent? The parent can ask themselves. So that's up to them. You don't have to worry about that component of it. But it'll show all the work that's assigned. So they'll get one email, not just in your classroom, but in all their Google Classrooms. So if they have 3 or 4, courses, they'll get one email with all of them together. So that's really super useful. The other thing that I mentioned that I really important is, and this is something we're going to ask everybody to do going forward, is either an existing classroom or a new one up here on the right here, where it says this little plus invite teachers. We're going to ask you to invite the teacher whose name is classroom. So classroom@rsu19.info. And the reason why is that way if you got ill or if there's some reason we needed to jump into your class very quickly, that account would be able to do so. And so we don't have to worry about, oh, we need to reset the password and they don't know what that password is and all that process that you can do. But this just makes it a lot easier to do and kind of in one place. So if you would do that at some point, just share that classroom, not with classroom teachers, classroom@rsu19.net. And then that's the last thing we mentioned here. And then I'll just move on. It is really important to add topics. So if you're not sure what a topic is, kind of think of them as units. If I click create and go to topics right here, I can create a new topic. And we can call this one, this is resources for our students. I'm gonna click add. And so now these resources, now I haven't added anything in here yet, but I can go to my other assignments and say, okay, so this one right here, what's my fave school lunch? I want to add that to my resources, or class rules is probably a good one. That's probably a better one. So I'm going to add that to my resources topic. Over here on the right where it says topic, I can add it right here to resources, click save. And the value of this is this will help organization for the kids themselves. So the students will probably want to use classwork as their way to find work. And if I subset of links here, this makes it a lot easier for the kids going forward. Unlike the stream is fine, but the stream works kind of like an old blog would, where they would chronologically just push the newest thing at the top all the time. And the benefit of that is you always see the latest thing. The drawback of that is that you can very easily get lost of what's going in there. So, all right, so that's what we're going to talk about for Google Classroom. Let me check real quick to see if I list. I don't believe I missed anything. Okay, that I wanted to cover for Classroom. I'm going to stop here. Couple quick questions. One, was there a way for teachers to see a student view of the classroom? Not exactly. There's no button that you can just switch over. Couple ways you could do that. You could have one of your students do a screenshot, or you can sign in as a dummy account. We have some generic student accounts that aren't real students, but just used for that purpose. If somebody wants to see what they would see, let me know. I'm happy to give you an account to do that. They basically see most of what you do without the editability. So theirs is pretty simple. But yeah, I'm happy to share that with you if you want to see that. Another question that came up, if a student has not yet accepted an invite, is there a way to nudge them? No. If they haven't done it yet, they have to click accept, because, and the rationale there, if you think about it, students could be invited to any classroom at all, and they only want to accept the ones that are the right ones, the ones that are in class. So they need to be in a classroom. All they have to do is click yes, I accept. And so if they haven't done that, maybe that's a phone call, maybe that's another email. Hey, Johnny, don't forget to click accept. That's up to them as far as how that works. Okay. That looks really good. All right, so without any questions right here, the next step I'm going to talk about is we're going to cover the idea of setting up your own Google Hangout, what that looks like. So I'm going to try, so another one quick question, when we add classrooms with classroom@rsu19.net, do we add as a teacher? Yes, we need that classrooms@rsu19.net account to be a teacher, not a student. The student's just going to see stuff. The reason why that's so important is if we need to get into your classroom for some reason, I don't know what that might be, but for some reason we need to jump in there real quickly, maybe to help a student, maybe, like I said, maybe you're unavailable for a certain time. This will just do it very easily, very quickly. We can always do it if we had to. We can reset a password and get into your account, but this would be much quicker and easier to do that. All right, so we're going to talk about setting up your own Google Hangout, what that looks like. I'm going to try to do it from, let's see here. I'm going to try to do it from a screen share. Again, my concern with it is that we're recording while we're recording. So we'll do we'll do the best we can. One other question, if we have more than one teacher in our classrooms, we have to share with this classroom. Yes, you might have a couple teachers, but this is so we as the tech department, if we need to be able to get into that account, or see that class for some reason, if we just by default, everybody shares it with classroom@rsu19.net, then everyone will be able to have access to it. So I'll just make it easier for everyone. All right. So I'm going to try to do a screen share here that will allow us to, and I'm just not sure what's going to happen with the, again, videoing while we're videoing. We're going to try to do a hangout while we're doing a hangout. We'll see what comes out of it. All right, so we're presenting our screen, and you should have, make sure. Okay, it looks like everything's okay. All right, so again, I'm in that dummy account here, this placeholder account. We're going to do the process of setting up a Google Hangout or a Google Meet. Again, Hangouts and Meets are now basically interchangeable. So if I say one, if I say Google Hangout or Google Meet, same thing. Two different words mean the same thing. There's two ways. You can do an immediate video stream live. Like I could, stream with somebody right now individually, but more likely you're going to schedule it. You're going to schedule it ahead of time. So that's the process we're going to do. And so the first thing, again, I'm signed in, I'm on google.com. In the upper right, I'm going to click this grid right here. Okay, so this is going to find my different tools. Again, you can take a shortcut to it, but I'm going to find Calendar, Google Calendar. Let's see if I can get it. Okay. In Google Calendar, if I want to create, let's see, today is the 23rd right here. Okay, so if I want to create a hangout or meet this afternoon with someone or maybe a group of students, I can click on the day. So this is, we're going to do English class. Oops. And again, you can determine what that looks like, what they're going to call. At a time, you're definitely going to want it at a time, right? Because you're going to meet. So I want to meet, actually, we'll meet at 1 o'clock. So we're going to meet at 1. This is going to go for 45 minutes. So 1 to 1:45, same day. I can add guests. So I could add individual students here. But I'm going to show you an easier way to do that in a second. Yeah, because this is going to start getting suggested here. Also down here, you'll see that pull down. If it doesn't pop up automatically, that says add video conferencing. So I'm going to choose that, and I'm going to select Google Meet. This is the Hangout or the Meet that we talked about. This is the link. So you could email somebody that direct link, and they could join. This is the meeting ID. It's the same actual link here. The phone number. And if we wanted to add a live stream, now I'm live streaming right now. That's why you guys can see this, or some of you. But normally you probably wouldn't live stream everything. So if I had a classroom, I probably wouldn't live stream that. I can click. I'm going to go down here to more options, just so you can see what else is going on here. So this is a little bit more details. So here's the course. Here's the time. Does not repeat or does it repeat? So this might repeat daily, every weekday from Monday to Friday. So if I'm going to schedule time for my students' office hours, say, 1 to 1:45, Monday through Friday, I might click on this, and this is now going to repeat itself. And so they would have the same Hangout link, so they wouldn't have to do a new one every day. So that would work well. Add location if I want to, that's cool. Scroll down here, notification, do they want to get, I could say they're going to get an email 10 minutes before, that will remind them. Add a description, so I can say we're going to have class. Also, if I wanted to attach something, I could attach a Google Doc ahead of time. I could say, hey, we're going to meet on Friday. We're going to do a video call. Please, here's a link, and please read this article before we meet so we can talk about it, or something like that. If I did that, I would absolutely make sure I also put that in the Google Classroom as well. Google Classroom is going to be your main thing to connect with kids as far as going back and forth with work. So I wouldn't just expect them to receive an email Hangout link invite and do it from there. I would make sure it's also in my Google Classroom. This is important over here. Okay, so I'm going to add guests. So if we're going to add another student or somebody else, add Josh Grant here too. So here are the different people. Here's my organizer, the host, that's me. And these are the different students coming through. Can they modify the event? Unlikely you're going to ever want that. Unless you're dealing with other teachers, you probably don't want them to modify it. Can they invite others? Probably, again, no. See the guest list. I don't know. That's optional. If you think that it's okay for students to see each other, who's going to be there, that's up to you. But I would definitely make sure that modify event is off and inviting others is off. So we've got right now, we've got a Hangout, meeting weekdays for 1 to 1:45. We've got these people. Let's click Save. Okay, would you like to send an invitation to Google Calendar? I would send this, and I'm actually going to take Josh off just so he doesn't get an invite, not know what it is. Okay, so I'm going to send this invite, and now they're going to get an email that will say, hey, look, English class from 1 to 1:45 each day, weekdays. Okay, if we say, well, you know what, I actually don't have English class this Thursday, I'm not going to do that. I can click on an individual link here, or an individual task. Here's this information, but I can say, you know what, I'm going to delete this little trash can here. I'm going to delete this event only. So I can delete individual events as needed. Okay. When it's time to join, if you notice here, all this information, join the Hangout, here are the guests. The guest will receive an email and say, hey, are you going? Yes, no, or maybe. And this is useful. So if you know that, you know, Wednesday we have a meeting and we had 10 people and, you know, I know who's coming ahead of time, who said, yes, I'll be there, or no, I won't, or so forth. So that's kind of handy as well. If I need to edit something, to change something, I can click this little pencil icon to edit the event. Click on this. Here's my information. Again, if I need to copy that, I can do that. And I can save. And that looks pretty good. Okay. When it's time to actually do the Hangout, and this is what I'm not sure is going to pop up because we're already streaming. I don't think it's going to work, but we'll try it. Yeah, so the camera's off. That's okay. Oops, I think it kicked out. So I'm going to go back. Hopefully, you are still in the meet. It looks like everybody is. Excellent. Okay, we're getting very redundant here. I'm going to turn off. I'm going to turn this off for a second because it's going to get too, again, we're kind of doing a video about doing a video, so it's a little bit redundant. I will definitely make a little video tutorial of this step, the process. You can follow that as you want. Once you've created that meet and you click on it and join the meet, again, it's timed, so it's not going to start until, in this case, 1 o'clock. You can join ahead of time as the host. You as the host can mute others, and you as the host can remove another. So let's say a student joined and they're not supposed to be in there, or you need to mute them. You have the control of that. And when you sign out, when you end the Hangout or the meet, it shuts it off, so it's not still going after you're done. Also, as far as I understand, I looked at it this morning, you can only have one host of a meet. So you can't have 2 teachers hosting it. It's basically one host would create it, and then everybody else would join it as a user or as a student, basically. Also, in the bottom right, once you have a meet up, you'll have audio, you'll have the microphone and video. So the big thing there, the easiest thing, and you guys have been really great about this, is muting your audio if you join, okay? Because the issue there is everybody's talking at once. It's pretty good about, if somebody else starts speaking, it will switch to them as far as your camera goes, and that's pretty good. But you want to be mindful of that as far as, again, if you have a bunch of kids, maybe you end up doing a thing where they, you know, in the text, in the chat room part, in the questioner say, hey, raise his hand. And you say, okay, Johnny, what did you want? That way you can kind of focus on individual students. This is absolutely a learning curve, no question. But that's okay. We'll figure this out. I'm pretty confident that the students will be able to handle it. They're really good about this stuff, as we know. One quick question, can you invite an entire class at one click? If you create a multiple version, a recurring Hangouts, let's say, you know, Monday through Friday, you know, at this time, once you put them in once, it's there for them forever, or forever, as long as you've repeated it. So you only have to put them in once. The other thing too is you can make a group of students. So you can say, here's my class, here's these 10 or 20, you know, accounts with it. What I might do just for convenience is just have a Google Doc, have that class's students' email addresses all together, like in, you know, like their email address, comma, space, next email address. So I can just copy that block and paste it in there if I need to do more than just that one set of Hangouts. That might be a quick and easy way to do that. Somebody asked real quickly, signing in for attendance. So if you are at rsu19.net, if you're with RSU19, if you go to rsu19.info, if you scroll down, one of the links right there, it says attendance sign in. Just click on that, click I'm here, and you're good to go. So another question, if I want to meet with just one person, good question. What I can do is I can just go to google.com or hangouts.google.com. either one, same place. And it will say, create a new meet, or create a new hangout. Click on that. Add, invite one person. And you can just call, just like you do a phone call. It's just with video. So you can just phone call for a one-on-one meeting. You don't have to schedule it ahead of time. The benefit of the schedule, especially for students, is you're scheduling your time ahead of time, which makes the most sense, I think. As far as like, we know at 1 o'clock we're all going to meet. But if you and I want to do a hangout right now, you or I could just create it. We can invite each other. We would see it as an email. Hey, Bonnie just invited you to a hangout. Click accept, and we're in. We're good. It doesn't have to just be video. So another thing, if students are having issues with their connectivity, it's choppy, it's not great, I have a lot of people on, sometimes it's worth them just turning off their video so they're not streaming video. They can still hear the audio. Or if that doesn't work, they can also, as I mentioned, just call in through a phone. So they just call in. It's just audio only, but they're in there. We have people right now, I don't know exactly how many, but every session we've done, we've had people join just through audio, which is just great. Question, does it have a tile grid view like Zoom does? Yes. If you have 2 or 3 people, right now we have 50 plus people in this hangout or this meet, so it's not going to work. But if you have like a set of 5 or 10, or again, depending on the numbers, if it's 30 kids in one thing, no, they're not going to do tiles because you wouldn't be able to see anybody. But if you ever want to, or maybe you have the students do this, if they click on your image in the upper right-hand corner, when you see all the people there, if they click that little thumbtack, it will pin your video for them as the big one, and they can still see the little ones on the side. Unquestionably, again, depending on what grade level you have, this is there'll be times there this is kind of fun, and how do we do this, and literally maybe your first workshop or session with them is just how do we do this, period. Like that's it. Like just figuring out how do we talk to each other and not interrupt each other, and how do we do comments and get that out of the system. I think I've told this story before, but one thing I always have done before is when I start with younger grades, I will have them pull up a Google spreadsheet, have everybody on that. Let's say all the 5th graders or all the 6th graders in one class on that Google spreadsheet, and they'll start leaving notes to each other, and they'll get a big kick out of that. They'll say, hi. They'll really get a kick out of that. Eventually, some young man, usually in the back corner, types something not awful, but something inappropriate, poopy head or something silly. And so we stop and we talk about that's like as if you stood up in class right now and said this out loud. And so so that's what we need to be able to address. Like, look, this is not acceptable. If you had to, you could mute them, and if we really had to, you could remove them, and then I would definitely make a phone call with them afterward and say, look, we need to be able to get this through together. I do feel pretty strongly that our kids will want to see each other and to see you and want to connect in any way we can. So we want to make this as smooth as we can as far as talking with each other, seeing their faces, hopefully seeing them if we can, and getting their voices, and maybe asking a question and going around students. One thing that might be worthwhile is having a class list that's shared right in your Google Classroom of an order. Maybe it's just by alphabetical order. And if you want to say, okay, we want everyone to say hi, but we'll go in this order, so that way they're not all interrupting each other at once. That's one thing that will be a concern if you have 15 kids in a hangout at once. So one question came up, when you say call in, we use the number on the invite, right? Does it ask for the PIN number after we dial in? The answer is yes. If you call into a hangout right now, so this one right here has a unique phone number and a PIN that somebody could call in. They call the phone number, they type in the PIN, and now they're in just audio. If you set up a recurring hangout, let's say Monday through Friday at 1 o'clock to 1:45, it will be the same phone number and PIN for each day. So once students had that, they wouldn't have to go back in and get a new one each time. They'd have it for once. So that would be useful. Again, once you knew that you were going to meet, maybe every Monday or every Monday and Wednesday or whatever that was, that's the little help with that. All right, I think that's a good place to stop. Oh, one last quick thing. I think I mentioned, so if you start the hangout, also in the lower right-hand corner, you'll see as you move your cursor here, present, that's how you do that. You click share screen, they would all see that, and you click present, and then you're good to turn it off. Also in the lower right-hand corner, there is 3 dots there, and if you click on that, you could record it. Now, the benefit of recording is that you have that video, even if it's a class discussion afterward, for students that weren't there. I'm not sure. There's no real reason why you wouldn't want to record it, unless there's something I can think of. Maybe it's truly just the first time you're meeting, so no big deal. But if you record that, it will create a video in your Google Drive. It'll be called whatever today's date is and time, be timestamped. So that recording you can have, and you could link that right in your Google Classroom, so kids can watch it later on or rewatch it or whatever and store it. Also, this came up at a question yesterday for high school level. There probably should be never a situation where you are recording, you are in a video with a student one-on-one. If that's the case, I would definitely make sure that you recorded that. That way, whatever was said, if the student's like, hey, whatever, you have a recording of what was said, what was done. So generally speaking, you'd want to have at least 2 adults in a video recording. Again, it'd be like one-on-one, at their house, right? So I would just record that. That way you don't have to worry about it. Another couple questions that have come up. Somebody asked about overdue assignments. Yes, if you put in Google Classroom, if you set a due date, initially they'll know when they first go to their Google Classroom. Right on the left time, it will say. It will ask them as far as like upcoming assignments. It only does about a week out. It doesn't do the entire year. So don't forget, on Monday this is due. And if they once it's gone past, it will say late assignment. So it will keep reminding them. The benefit of that, honestly, is for parents. So if a student's not going to do it, a parent can see really easily and really quickly what that link is, what that list is of things that they have due. Another question came up: how do I send a mass email without having everyone's email show? Thank you very much for asking this question. This is hugely important. I just had this happen this morning with one of my son's teachers. When you send an email, in fact, this is important enough. I'm going to do a screen share of this. I want everyone to know how to do this. Okay, so this is just good practice. So I'm going to go to my Gmail. And I'm going to compose a new email. All right, let's get rid of this. Okay, so I could say to, we'll say Mr. Beach and Mr. Grant and Mr. Kelly. Okay, so I could do that. Now, everybody's going to see everybody's email and say this is a test email. Okay. But everyone's going to see everybody's email there. If I do carbon copy, I can do that too, and I can drag them in here, and it's going to list them all well. They can still see everybody's email as well. They also, if they click reply all, it's going to go to everybody. This is what BCC is for. BCC is blind carbon copy. Please use it. Blind carbon copy. If I want to email everybody, let's say I don't even want to show Mr. Beach's address here. So I'm actually going to put in my own address. It's going to come to me, but everyone else is in this BCC or blind carbon copy list here. And what that means that, yes, they'll all receive the email. They can reply back directly to me, but they can't reply all to everybody. And they also can't see everybody else's email, especially when we're emailing parents, like our entire classroom worth of parents at a time. It's really, really bad etiquette to put everybody's email for each other, because then it's there. Especially mine, my email is Kelly. Now, I don't mind it. I personally don't mind it, but I know some parents that do. They don't want to share their email with everybody else just because they happen to be in the same list. So if you click BCC over here on the right here, this will pop up, blind carbon copy, put their addresses in here, and hit send, and you're good to go. That means that yes, you'll get a copy too, but they'll all get their own copy. If they hit reply, it won't go to everybody. If they hit reply all, it won't work. It will just go to you. Really good question. I think that's really, really important. So somebody asked about a one-on-one. All I'm saying as far as video goes, all I'm saying is if you have a one-on-one video call with a student in their home, I think it would be appropriate to make sure you're recording that so that if a student said later on, wow, something happened, you have a recording of that. It'd be like, going to somebody's house and talking to the students individually. I just think it's prudent to have that recording or to just not do it. Either have two adults in the call, and just as a going forward. I would rather have, again, always err on the side of caution. So I'd rather have it so if this video call is recorded, there's nothing that was on here that's not, we have the proof of later on. You don't have to, but I just feel like it would be beneficial. Somebody asked about setting a due date for Google Classroom. If you go on the right side, when you create a new assignment, create assignment, on the right side, you'll see dates. And if you choose a due date right there, it will say, when it is. If you've already created the assignment and you didn't add a due date to it, you can click on that assignment, click those three dots, edit, and you can go back in and add a due date later on. That will just also puts it in their Google Classroom, in their Google Calendar, so a student can look at their own Google Calendar and see all the assignments coming up. So unless you have a good reason not to put a date associated with it, I pretty much always would, unless there's a specific reason not to. All right, so I'm going to, we're going to kind of wrap it up. Like I mentioned in the last 10 minutes, I kind of want to share something fun. And so we'll do this again tomorrow. If you have questions beyond this time, feel free to go to rsu19.info, scroll down a little bit. You'll see on the left side, questions and comments. So feel free. And we can use that for tomorrow's topic. Tomorrow's topic, again, I'm unless something changes, depending on the questions, I was going to focus on Google Voice. And we're going to do a section around that, how to use that for classroom, for calls. So that's the plan for right now. If we can change that if we need to. So the last thing I just want to share with you as far as, if I go back here. So let me do a quick screen share. So if I want to, down. If I scroll down here, as I mentioned, so here is, questions, comments. Here's going to be the archive on the right side here of all the different, shows as we go forward. So if you need to jump back and how do we do Google Classroom again, there'll be a link right here and you'll be able to watch that. Down at the bottom, there's also the individual, if you see the tab here by date, the individual information for that one video call, this call right here. And so I'm for today's, for kind of time well spent, if you get a chance, there's a YouTube video right here called Ari's Monster Trap. It's absolutely fantastic. Take the time. It's only like 3 or 4 minutes long. But this is great. It's like kind of a student or child, I think he's like 5th or 6th grade, builds a Rube Goldberg machine in his own house. And this is years ago, so this isn't very recent. But it's really a great way of maybe, inspiration for kids to figure out something they could do going forward. Kind of way to play with just stuff lying around the house, and a really fun, interactive way for mom and dad to kind of show. The fun thing I like about it is when you watch it, he does kind of like a hypothesis of how many times he thinks it will work well and how many times he thinks it will fail. And then to see his reaction when it actually works out is worth the video. So again, if you go to rsu19.info, scroll down over here on the right side, here are all the different show notes from each show. Today is the 23rd. So if you click right here, Ari's Monster Trap, go ahead and click on that. And again, I think it's about 3 minutes worth well spent. So jump back again. I am going to fix this. This kind of clunky back and forth is not great going forward. So we got to figure that out. But I really appreciate everybody today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Real quick here. So one quick question. I posted multiple links in my Google Classroom. I like to have them all in one folder. Okay, so this is actually an important piece too that so when you create a Google Classroom, a new one, so I'm going to create English 101. By default, it automatically creates a folder for you in your Google Drive, the name of that class, like it's already done. Okay, I wouldn't mess with that. I wouldn't take all that stuff and put it somewhere else because it needs it to be there for it to work. So if you want to make a copy of that document and put it in your own folder somewhere else, that's cool. But I wouldn't move it or I wouldn't change things or else it might mess things up later on. Yeah, you can put, when you say one folder in Google Classroom, I think maybe one topic. If you made one topic and call it links or whatever you want, resources, that can be all assignments you already have can be under that one topic. And that way, that would take care of that. That's probably the best way if we can do that. Miss Mayer mentions about having everybody mute themselves. Yes, hopefully, video etiquette will kind of present itself. I think the more people do this, hopefully this will work out as we go forward. So thank you guys all, everybody. Appreciate it. Hopefully it's not going to hit us too bad with the snow. It's a nice sunny day out right now, so hopefully that stays for a little while. Get outside if you can, get some vitamin D, and we will see you all tomorrow on the same bat time, same bat channel. Bye, guys.